welcome back to the Premier Predictor here at the Royal Oak Pub in New Malden. Before we get into today's video, let's see how Mikey got on last week and then I'll explain how the point scoring system works.
Okay, let's have a look at how the scoring works. It's going to be a bit complicated, but please stick with me. I'm sure you'll get the hang of it eventually. So, if there's any correct match result, it's 2 points to start with. So that's if it's a home win or a draw or an away win that you put. So, for example, if Leicester beat Brighton 2-1 and you put 1-0 to Leicester, that would be 2 points. Same if you had a draw and it was a draw, or if an away win and an away win. So, moving on to the correct match score. Now, this is if you get the prediction spot on completely. So that would be the 2 points you get for the correct match result, plus the 4 extra points, and then it's 1 point extra for each goal scored by the winning team. And you get both if it's a draw. So if Liverpool beat Chelsea 2-0 and you predict it, that you score 8 points. So that's the 2 for the correct match result, the 4 extra points, and then the 2 goals that Liverpool scored. So that would equal 8. Also works with a draw. So if Liverpool drew 1-1 with Chelsea and you predict it, you also score 8 points. So it'd be the 2 again plus the 4 and then 1 plus 1. So that's 1 for Liverpool, 1 for Chelsea, which equals 8. If you put the correct score for the winning team only, so this would be an extra point. So this would be 2 plus 1. So if you put 2-1 to Brentford against Newcastle and it was 2-0 to Brentford, for example, you'd get the 2 for the correct match result and then the extra 1 for getting the 2 of Brentford. Again, this works if it's the losing team. So if you put 3-1 to Arsenal against Man City and it was 2-1 to Arsenal, so that you got that score right for Man City, it would be, again, the 2 points plus that 1 point, which equals 3. If a team scores 5 or more goals and you predict them to win, you'll get 3 extra bonus points. So if you put 3-0 to Aston Villa against Wolves and Aston Villa scored 5 or more goals, so it was 5-0 or 6-0 or whatever, you'd get the 2 plus the 1 for the 0 and the 3 bonus points, which would be 6. So if you get a 5 plus scoreline correctly, for example, if you put 5-0 and if you predict 5-0 and it was 5-0, then it would be 14 points in total because you'd get the 2 plus the 4 plus the 5 for the goals and then plus the extra 3 bonus points, which would be 14 points. Moving on to how wrong results work. So if you get the result wrong completely, it's automatically minus 2 points. So if you put a home win and it was a draw or an away win, or if you put a draw and it was a home win or away win and so forth, it would always be minus 2 points. So for example, if you put Everton to win 1-0 against Leeds and then Leeds won 2-0, it automatically minus 2 points. If you have the wrong result but the correct score for one team, it would be minus 1 on top of that. So if you put West Ham 1-1 against Man City and it was 1-0 to Man City, you'd get minus 2 plus that 1 that you got for the City goal. So that would be minus 1. Another example is if Man United beat Chelsea 3-1 and you put 1-0 to Chelsea, you'd get minus 1 overall. So yeah, minus 2 for the wrong result and then plus 1 for Chelsea, correct score. If you get a score completely the wrong way around, so if you put 1-0 to Man United against Spurs and Spurs won 1-0 instead, automatically minus 4 points. Right, let's move on to how Mikey got on in Gameweek 1. Now, let's go through each game. Mikey had 2-0 to Crystal Palace against Arsenal, and it was... he had 2-1 to Arsenal, and it was 2-0, so he gets the 3 there. So that's the 2 plus the 1 that he got for Arsenal's correct score. I also had the same on that one. Fulham versus Liverpool, it was a minus 2 because he had 3-1 to Liverpool and it was 2-2. I got minus 1 because I had Liverpool's correct score right, so it would have been minus 2 plus 1. Bournemouth versus Aston Villa, it was 2-0 to Bournemouth. Mikey and myself both put Villa to win, so we both have minus 2 on that one. Leeds versus Wolves was 2-1. Mikey had a draw, but had the Wolves score right, so it was minus 2 plus 1, which is minus 1. I had 2-0 to Leeds, so I get the 2 points plus the 1 for the correct Leeds scoreline. Newcastle versus Nottingham Forest was 2-0. Mikey got that spot on, So he got 8 points, which is 2 plus 4 plus the 2 goals of Newcastle. I got 2-1, so that's 2 plus 1 is 3. Spurs versus Southampton was 4-1. We both had a Spurs win, so just be 2 points each. Everton versus Chelsea, it was 1-0 to Chelsea. Mikey had a 3-1 Chelsea win to get 2 points. I had that score correct, spot on, so I got 7, which is 2 plus 4 plus the 1. That one goal that Chelsea scored. Leicester versus Brentford was 2-2. Mikey had 2-1, so he'll get -2 plus 1 for getting the Leicester score right. I had a draw, so that's just a 2 points. Man United versus Brighton. I don't think anyone was expecting that. Brighton won 2-1. Both myself and Mikey had Man United to win, so both -2 on that one. And the last one, West Ham versus Man City. It was 2-0 to Man City. Mikey had 3-1, so gets 2 points. I had 2-1, got 3 points, so got the extra point for getting the Man City score right. So this week I did beat Mikey, 18-9. We both got 1 correct scoreline each. I had 6 other correct results and 3 wrong results. Mikey had 4 other correct results and 5 wrong results. So you can see the difference in the scores there. But we'll see how Mikey gets on, and we'll see how he compares against guests throughout the season. There'll be a weekly league table, and at the end there'll be a prize for the person who got the highest score. We'll also be keeping a record against myself. So this one I've won, so I'm 1 win from 1. But we'll see how this gets on over the course of the season. Anyway, let's move on to today's video.
Welcome to today's video of Game Week 2. Today I am joined by my very own father, John, who is sporting our local team, Kingstonians football colours. So,
Going on the case.
welcome to my dad. He's big inspiration for this channel, so I'm glad to have him on board for Game Week 2. So let's move on. Let's talk about what happened in Game Week 1. Obviously, we're both Liverpool fans, so how do you think Liverpool did?
Well, I don't think Liverpool were as bad as was made out by all the pundits. Yeah, we went at our best, and we didn't start the season as we might have hoped, but we didn't lose. And if it hadn't been for the crossbar, we probably could have won. So
Yeah, it was.
And I think whilst Fulham played reasonably well, I don't think they were as outstanding as people made out.
No, it was. We just didn't get going for 60 minutes. Credit to Fulham, they stuck to their game well, and they probably did deserve something out of it, if not a win. But it was a draw in the end. So we just got to look forward really and just put it behind us. Let's move on to the Game Week 2 fixtures. So let's start with the first one, which is Aston Villa versus Everton, 12:30 on Saturday afternoon. What do you think about that one?
Well, I'm going for a draw. I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
Neither team had a great start, and I think both have selection problems. Certainly Villa with their centre half, and obviously Everton have lost Godfrey to a bad injury, and they seem not to have any strikers. So I'm going to go for a draw, but I will, however, say, of course, it's Stevie G versus Everton, and anything is possible.
I mean, both teams weren't particularly good first week. I think that Aston Villa's game plan was all over the place against Bournemouth. I've gone for a draw as well. I've gone for the same. I've gone for 1-1 as well. I think if it was to go one way, I'd probably say Villa with their home support. But I think it will be I think it'll be a draw as well. So let's move on to the first of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, which is Arsenal versus Leicester. What have you gone for that one?
Well, much was said about Arsenal's good start last week, and I think they'll continue that against Leicester. Leicester, they look good in parts against Brentford last week, but they did let a 2-goal lead slip, which obviously is not good. Yes, they're dangerous on the break, and I think that's how they'll play against Arsenal. But I think Arsenal have started well. They seem to have their team spirit back at last. So I'm going for a 2-1 win to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Arsenal have recruited well. They obviously started well last week against Palace, which is not a difficult place to go. Leicester started against Brentford, but conceded 2 goals. Couldn't really handle it. So yeah, I do think Arsenal will win. I've gone for 3-1. I think Arsenal will kick on, and there'll be a lot of goals in that one. Let's move on to Brighton versus Newcastle.
Yeah, both sides had fine wins last week, particularly Brighton, to kick off their seasons, and I think both will be expected to do really well on Saturday. So I probably think on that basis they'll cancel each other out.
Yes, that's sort of my thoughts as well, yeah.
And to be honest, I think a stalemate is the most likely result, so I've gone for 0-0.
Okay. Yeah, I've also gone for a draw. I think I've gone for 1-1. Both teams did well, like you said. But it's very difficult to call that one. Newcastle obviously playing well, but Brighton have the home support. So, yeah, I think a draw is probably the most likely outcome with that one. Moving on to Man City versus Bournemouth.
Yes. Of course, I'd like Man City not to win.
Yes.
But obviously they will. I have to admit that Haaland looks very good on the initial showings that I've seen of him.
He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think, all season.
I reckon so. But I thought in the Community Shield that we played him quite well.
Yeah.
We did have a couple of chances, but I think we played him quite well. Bournemouth had a very good start to the season. I was really surprised at the result of the weekend. But I don't think they'll have enough to stop a City win. But equally, I don't think it'll be a thrashing. So.
No, I think. Well, I've gone for 3-0, which
I've gone for 2-0. So,
yeah, I just think Bournemouth had a good start, but against City, it's completely different. Away, I think it'll be one-sided. It's just a case of how many. It could easily be 4-5-0. And we come back here next week and talk about how it was 6-7-0 thrashing. So yeah, I've gone for 3-0. It'll be respectable for Bournemouth. Southampton Leeds.
Yeah, tricky one this. Leeds had a good win at the weekend, and Saints obviously got a bit of a thrashing at Tottenham. I think they'll bounce back, Southampton, because Leeds had tended not to travel that well.
No, I think people expected them to beat Wolves, and they did eventually with the comeback. So Southampton got thrashed by
Tottenham.
By Tottenham. So again, not easy for European games. So what have you gone for this one then?
I've gone for 2-1 to Southampton.
You gone for a home win? I've gone for a 1-1 draw on that one. I think they'll cancel each other out. I think both will want to just, I know Leeds have got points on the table, but I think Southampton will want to get some points. Right, Wolves versus Fulham.
Well, as I said earlier, Fulham got rave reviews against Liverpool last week, but they didn't win.
Yeah.
And I didn't think their defence was particularly brilliant.
No.
I mean, even not playing very well, Liverpool created a lot of chances.
Yeah.
I think Wolves will be looking to come straight back after losing at Leeds, and I think they'll sneak it. I think they will. I think they will win.
Okay.
I've gone for 1-0 to Wolves.
Okay. I've also gone for a Wolves win, up at 2-1. I think they were a little bit unlucky against Leeds. They started well. I think with the home ground support, I think they will beat Fulham. I think Fulham will score. Mitrovic, you can't really keep him quiet. So I've put Fulham to score on that one. Let's move on to Brentford versus Man United, the evening kickoff.
Indeed, this is intriguing. Absolutely intriguing.
Yeah, this one's difficult to call, I have to admit.
B's got a very good point at Leicester last week.
Yeah.
And Manchester United were,
bang
the
average.
press said it all. Rubbish, really. So enough said on that, really. I think that they'll continue to struggle until they bring in a decent striker. But I still think they'll be good enough to take a point. So
yes,
I'll
I think so.
For a 1-1 draw.
I've also gone for that. I think I think it's Brentford's first game. As you remember last season, their first home game against Arsenal, the crowd were well up for it. It was a good atmosphere. It helped them massively, and I think they'll do the same again. But I think, to be honest, I could see Man United getting a silly goal and Brentford coming back into it and maybe even going on to win. So that was a difficult one to call, but we both agree on that one.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest versus West Ham.
Well, bad starts for both teams here.
I guess with West Ham, with Man City, it's always going to be a difficult first game as well. So.
Oh, it was. I don't think they did enough, particularly on last year's performance when they gave City 2 or 3 really good games.
It was later in the season and they were well established. It's always playing City in the first game is never going to be easy. It doesn't matter who you are or what the previous record's like. So
I think West Ham will do. Forest really, I'm not sure that they've spent a lot of money. They've bought in a lot of players, but on Saturday's performance, it doesn't look great. So I think West Ham are going to sneak this. So I've gone 2-1 to West Ham.
Okay, I've actually gone 0-0, which is maybe controversial, but I think Forest in the first Premier League game at home in a long time, the crowd's going to be really up for it. I think it will be very cagey. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of chances. Both teams defend quite well, so yeah, I've gone 0-0. So, what do you think? Do you think that it's a possibility?
Well, I think
being a draw maybe.
A draw is possible, but I think West Ham are very. All the predictions last year, West Ham were the hardest to predict. They win when you expect them to lose, and they lose when you expect them to win. So
obviously they got Europe again this year,
which
could be a distraction going forward, but it wasn't a distraction for them last year, getting to the semi-finals. Right, the penultimate one, which is Chelsea Spurs.
Which
is really difficult.
Big game, and only week 2.
Makes it much harder to predict this one.
Spurs were impressive against Saints in part, but again Saints weren't very good. So I wouldn't like to take that result as being the sort of the benchmark for the rest of the season. Having said that, neither Kane nor Son scored.
Nope.
And Tottenham still managed to bag 4 goals. So.
I think they've got a lot going forward. I've actually put them to win, surprisingly.
Okay.
They don't usually go there and win or perform well, but I think it'll be different.
I thought Chelsea were okay at Everton. Again, they're looking like they need a striker as well.
They've just sold Timo Werner.
Yeah, they've sold another one.
And obviously, Lukaku's gone.
And I'm not sure Chelsea are really going to do this season. However, they have a habit of throwing a spanner in Tottenham's works over the years.
Yes.
And it'll either be a classic or a complete dud. So I'm going to take a punt. I'm going for the classic, and I'll say 2-2.
Okay, I've gone for 2-1 Spurs.
Right.
I think they will edge it. I've just got a feeling that they're going to do something this year. I mean, a lot of Spurs fans will tell you otherwise. There was always a time where they might bottle it. But no, I've got a feeling that they're going to come away with 3 points. Right, let's move on to the last game, the Monday night fixture, which is
big game of the week.
Liverpool versus Palace. So what do we think on that one?
I didn't think that Liverpool were that bad last week. I must admit.
I don't think you'd play like that in 2 games running. They would have got.
No.
They would have got Klopp in the dressing room afterwards, and the days after he wouldn't have been unhappy with that one. So.
I didn't think we were that poor, and we nearly won without playing particularly well. Now I am concerned about our midfield shortages.
Yeah, there's a couple of injuries now.
Become a concern. Thiago's a big loss. But I still think we should have too much for Palace. I would really think.
Yeah.
Who haven't started the season well.
They've not really they think that a lot of players are injured or they haven't really signed anyone.
Yeah. The
squad seems a bit short. I don't know.
It does. And of course we beat them in pre-season in Thailand. So I think that on the basis we get an early goal, which I hope we will. I've gone for a 3-1 win to Liverpool.
So you think Liverpool will concede?
I think we will concede, I don't think we're tight enough yet at the back. We will give us a couple of games and we'll be tight. Núñez looks great in the 2 games that I've seen him, and I think he must play.
He's got to
really.
start, yeah. He's got to start.
And Salah also looks better now.
Nothing against Firmino, but it just didn't quite work out against Fulham, did it?
I think they were trying him as a false nine, and I don't think it worked really. But Nunes will make a difference.
Yeah.
So 3-1. What have you put?
I put 3-0.
3-0.
I think could be even more. Could be 4, maybe even 5. I think they got a firework up their asses. I think from the last game. I think they were with the home support at Anfield. First game. I think. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4 or 5. So, but I've gone safe and put 3-0. So we'll see what happens there. But that's it. That's game week 2 done. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and we will see you in next week's video for game week 3 with another guest. See you soon.
Bye bye.